Hey, Sim Kern here, and in a minute we're going to do another flip through of an educational book about Palestine. But first, I wanted to tell you about a family that I'm supporting this week and about my weekly book giveaways. So, over the last 5 weeks, I've been giving away one signed author copy of my book, The Free People's Village, every single week. In exchange for people donating to a fundraiser of a family in Gaza that I'm supporting. And so far we've raised $295,000 for families doing these giveaways. So this week's giveaway is benefiting the Murtaja family. This is the biggest family I've helped so far. There's 18 of them trying to evacuate from Gaza and rebuild a life in another country. Just the fees for all 18 people to leave will be $70,000, and then they're going to need money to start a new life somewhere. So the goal right now for the fundraiser is $100,000. In order to enter to win a signed first edition author copy of The Free People's Village, you're going to donate at least $5, but as much as you are able to this family at the donation link that you'll find down in the description. And then you're going to email a screenshot of your receipt to the letter T, the number 4 Gaza at gmail.com. So T4Gaza at gmail.com. And let me show you a little bit about the first edition that you can win. The color is really, really vibrant. And the book has so many cool tricks to it. Like, for example, beneath the dust jacket, there's a case that shows the LP that the main characters of the band are in a punk band. And so this is their album cover, right? And this is the hand of the artist who designed the cover, Ganzir, who was, he's a street artist who became famous during the Egyptian Revolution for making street art in support of the revolution. So I was really jazzed to have him do the cover of this book. And he also came up with the idea for this dust jacket that unfolds into a full-size poster. How cool is this? So, like I said, just by donating at least $5 and sending that screenshot to me, you'll be entered to win a signed first edition copy of my book. And like I said, we've raised almost $300,000 doing this over the last 5 weeks. It's just really amazing to all of my followers, who I call my mashpucha, which is a Yiddish word that means family. Okay. So today we're going to be looking at this book called Love Wins, Palestinian Perseverance Behind Walls. And this book was sent to me by my friend Hannah Mushabek, who's works in the publishing industry, and she works for Interlink Press, which is a Palestinian-owned press. This book was actually put out by Olive Branch Press, but she just sent this to me because she thought I'd be interested in it. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and this book has a lot of pictures of Palestine, and I think from it we can learn a lot about what the situation was like in Palestine before October 7th, because this did not begin on October 7th. And I think it's okay to do these soft-spoken, sort of more calm educational videos about Palestine. I don't mean to be irreverent or say that it should be relaxing. But I think that, the whole world needs to get educated about what's happening in Palestine. And if you've been really activated on it, if you've been learning a lot about it from TikTok and Instagram, it can be very distressing. And I think it's okay to learn about it in a quieter way that kind of soothes your nerves at the same time, to allow space for quieter feelings of grief, quieter expressions of grief. Because being able to sort of reset our nervous system like that is really important to sustaining long-term engagement on a topic that's very, very difficult. So I hope you enjoy this flip through. This book is now, a historical document. Let's see when it was published. 2014. So 10 years ago. So, many of the places in this book have been destroyed, especially if they're in Gaza. But also many places in the West Bank may have been destroyed. And some of the people that we're going to see, I don't know, but they may have lost their lives as well, or been martyred, had their lives taken from them. And so, I'm approaching this with a great deal of reverence, and this is for the purpose of education. So this is the foreword, and this gives information about the history of what's been happening in Palestine over the last 76 years. Then you get this code. So all of the pictures in the book, they just put a number beside it. You see there's like a tiny little number 6 here. That means that picture was taken in Hebron. Okay, and now here you have the map of where Hebron is. So let's talk about this map. This line shows the border of the nation state of Israel. This little strip right here is Gaza, which, as we know right now, is the people in Gaza are facing a genocide. This whole area is the West Bank, but as you can see, these darker tan areas are the areas that are supposed to be under Palestinian control. But even these areas have been carved up further by illegal Jewish settlements, which have the full protection of the Israeli army. They're illegal according to both Israeli and international law. And so these are different cities in the West Bank: Nazla, Tulkarm, Kalkia, Zawiya. I'm probably saying these all wrong. Gaza's number 5. Hebron, Jenin, Ramallah, Kalandia, Jerusalem, and Bethlehem. So this is how you can kind of know where the pictures you're looking at are coming from. Let's read a little bit. We're here, they're there. Building walls is the bluntest way a government can frame national interests and points of view. From the Berlin Wall and the Great Wall of China to Hadrian's Wall, walls are built to keep people out, or sometimes in. Even today, walls are being built between North and South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, and the United States and Mexico. Although these walls are rarely the result of bilateral agreements, they seldom stray from internationally recognized borders. Calling them walls, barriers, or fences, they serve the single purpose of keeping us from them. And so this book, you'll see the wall that separates these Palestinian regions from the Jewish-controlled ones is going to feature very heavily in these pictures. And the book's commentary is translated into a number of different languages. So here's some facts about the faces of walls. 466% is the length of the separation wall, so the wall separating Palestine from Jewish parts of Israel, versus the Berlin Wall. So the wall that separates Israel from Palestine is 466% longer than the Berlin Wall was. 26% is the unemployment rate in the West Bank and Gaza. Again, this was 2014. All these facts will be from 2014. So it's not a lot of economic opportunity. 500,000 is the number of olive trees that were uprooted to build the wall. 41,525 is the number of acres confiscated to build Israeli-only roads in the West Bank. So that's like the Israeli army just like took those acres from Palestinians. And 532 is the total number of checkpoints, gates, and roadblocks in the West Bank. And according to international law, the West Bank is supposed to be, controlled by Palestine, administered by Palestine, but there's 532 Israeli checkpoints, gates, and roadblocks preventing the Palestinian people there from moving from place to place. Sometimes it's really difficult even to get from one village to another. I've got another essay here. Let's look at some pictures, okay? So here's some pictures of the wall in different parts of Palestine. There's someone looking at a gate, a checkpoint. Imagine if you just wanted to drive down the street to see your grandma, you had to go through something like this, or like 10 of these. Here it's more of a barbed wire, cyclone wire fence. Here's a kid sitting on a roof. And look, the wall in the background. There's a lot of really cool graffiti on the Palestinian side of the wall, just like there was a lot of really cool graffiti on the West Berlin side of the Berlin Wall. It says Guernica, 1932, Palestina, 1948, !? Or, yeah, I think that's a reference to the Berlin Wall. And here's a mural of Al-Aqsa Mosque and a bulldozer destroying a heart. And just kind of try to put yourself in the shoes of living trapped inside these walls. Like the people of Gaza live in what is a concentration camp, essentially. They have not been allowed to leave, immigrate. They've been growing up and living their whole lives trapped behind these walls on that tiny strip of land we saw earlier. It's only 22 miles long, which is wild. That's like not even the length of like Houston and its suburbs, like not even by a little. And the wall just like dominates the scenery all your life. Of course, teenagers grow up and decorate it. Happy birthday, Kim. Here's a jungle scene with a Christian message. Remember, there's a community of Christian Palestinians. They're not all Muslim. And there's these guard towers too, every so often. Here's your ball. Maybe a kid's ball went over the wall, or it got too close to the wall and they got shot. I don't know. Some kids walking to school in the shadow of the wall. It says Mujeres Artistas por la Paz, so women artists for the peace. There's so many different languages in the graffiti written on the walls. Love Wins. That's the title of the book. set us free. So here's some more facts. Faces of life. 83% West Bank resources diverted to Israeli settlements. So, like water resources. So basically, the Jewish Israeli settlements in the West Bank are stealing 83% of the water. So the Palestinian people really, their wells have dried up. You know, wells that they've been using for thousands of years. The wells have dried up because Israel is diverting so much water to the Jewish settlements, which use so much more water with their like modern Western setup than the historical villages we're using in Palestine. 66%. These are the agricultural gates open to Palestinians only 1 to 2 months a year. So in order, I think, to do agriculture, they're only allowed in these certain areas for 1 to 2 months a year. This is minus 55%. This is the decline in annual harvest yields. I don't know since when, but all of this has to do with, I think, the water shortages making the harvest go down, and probably also only being able to tend to your crops 1 or 2 months a year. 1,100%. This is the ambulance travel time increase after wall erection. So these walls that have carved up the West Bank make it over 1,000% longer time for an ambulance to reach you. So it's a real safety hazard. 40 is the number of infant and maternal deaths in ambulances at checkpoints. So imagine, like, you're pregnant, you're giving birth, and you're stuck at a checkpoint. 40 people have died. And the source of the study and the date range is at the bottom here. So that's between 2000 and 2007. Faces of life. Between the walls, meandering 440-mile path, enclosed settlement blocks, closed military zones, and hundreds of miles of settler-only roads, Palestinian land has been gradually reduced into smaller and smaller enclaves. Palestinians today live in 12% of pre-1948 Palestine, in a jigsaw of communities whose movement is controlled by permits, terminals, checkpoints, and soldiers' whims. In this way, the wall places 4.3 million Palestinians under house arrest, a reality which pushed the International Court of Justice to issue its advisory opinion in 2004 on the wall's illegality under international law. And here we're starting to see some rubble from earlier bombings. Remember, this was 2014, but Palestine is always getting bombed, like, on and off. Here's a whole bunch of kids showing, you know, these are the spaces they have to play, you know, what they look like. Here's some kids working. So it looks like he's cooking something. This kid has his own little shop. This child also is selling some things. This kid's selling bracelets. Here's some Palestinian elders. There's some kind of, they're approaching a checkpoint here, it looks like. You know, so like carrying some groceries or something home. And they gotta go through a checkpoint just to get to their house. Here's some pictures of what that's like, waiting in this long line to have to get through every single one of these checkpoints. And so a lot of people in Palestine, have to go through a checkpoint or two to get from their home to their job. So imagine if this was like part of your commute. How dehumanizing. Being corralled like cattle in a pen. And here's walking through like one of the tunnels after the checkpoint. These pictures really upset me because there's like kids in the foreground, right? And then just these soldiers with enormous guns in the background. I think about if these were my kids, just how terrifying it would be, especially especially from what we've seen. Like, I feel like the whole world has seen how hateful and genocidal the Israeli army is. And just having to, see your kids around these people who don't see them as human beings all the time with their giant guns. Look at this. It makes me so nervous for these kids. Why are you holding your weapons like that, dudes? You're around a bunch of kids, Ugh. And, like, if you've seen the videos of Israeli soldiers in the last 8 months, they truly do not see Palestinian people as people. There's another checkpoint. Look at this. What are you doing with that kid, dude? Why are you touching that kid? Again, just like having these soldiers with big guns in the background of your life all the time. It's terrifying. This must be from some kind of protest, even though she's holding a Palestinian flag, even though that's illegal, I believe, in Palestine. To just carry the flag. It's banned. That's why people started holding up watermelons. What are you looking at, dude? Leave her alone, you creep. I can't imagine how scary it must be to just have to deal with these guys all the time. And girls. Plenty of women. The Israeli military acting every bit as monstrous on TikTok as the male soldiers. Alright, faces of support. 131 UN member states who recognize the state of Palestine. And I think that's gone up a lot, actually, since 2014. In the last 8 months, I know there's been more countries recognizing Palestine as a state. 107 UN states who adopted Palestine's UNESCO membership. 1,300 foreign doctors and nurses providing treatment. 100 plus artists who have boycotted Israeli performances since 2010. I did a video recently on my TikTok about switching some of my support from musicians who have been boycotting Israel away from, people who have not been boycotting them. 23 countries participated in BDS, so that stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, Global Action Day 2012. So boycotting Israeli products, divesting, meaning like not taking your money away from investing in Israeli companies, and sanctions is a call for other governments to impose economic sanctions on Israel. So like not sending aid to Israel the way we do. Sanctions can take the form of like taxing heavily exports from Israel, or like not letting them export to your country. So basically BDS stands for like using money to pressure Israel to stop being a genocidal, racist, apartheid state. This is a cool piece of graffiti. some really cool art. This wall will fall. Apartheid is fascism. Somos todos palestinos. We are all Palestinian. The Palestinian spirit is stronger than any wall. Here's a high jumper, or not a high jumper, a pole vaulter, going over the wall. Palestine will never die. Viva Palestina. Mexico loves you. The whole world is watching. We saw a different version of that earlier. This lie cannot live. Martin Luther King. This wall is fallacious. So you can see like visitors. I guess a lot of this graffiti is maybe coming from visitors from other countries. Israel makes me ashamed to be American. Yeah, word. Free Palestine, boycott apartheid from Norway. Norway supports you. You must be ashamed. Fuck Israel. This is apartheid. This definitely is not a fence. Yeah, for real. It's a wall, not a fence. That's like one of the euphemisms used for the wall is that, oh, it's just a fence. No, it's a wall. I think we can see that in pictures. We see everything. A country is not what it does, but what it tolerates. This is a land grab. Zionism is fascism. This ant pushing down these dominoes is really cool. Resistance is not terrorism. Here's Alice going through the looking glass, or the door to Wonderland. Like the door in the wall. We got some Pac-Man. Eat your ghost. I don't know what that means, but I like it. We saw this one earlier. Here's your ball. Here's that quote again. A country is not only what it does, it is also what it tolerates. Love is the liberator. Love each other. Live, love, love, life. Jesus is the way. Here's the Statue of Liberty crying over, gosh, I forget the name of this little cartoon kid, but he's a famous comic created by a Palestinian artist, and he's like this little boy that watches. He's always facing away because he's like watching what is happening to his people. Okay, here's some more facts. Faces of Hope. 11.2 million worldwide Palestinian population. 67% Israeli public in support of a two-state solution. Now I wonder if that's gone down or up in the last 10 years. 80,000 olive trees planted in place of the 500,000 destroyed by the wall. Okay, so they replanted 80,000, but it's still a really sad statistic because there's a long way to go to get to 500,000. And it takes a really long time for olive trees to mature. So an olive tree sapling needs to grow for like, I don't know, I think like 10 years or something before it can really like even start bearing fruit. 95% is the literacy rate of the Palestinian population. So yeah, Palestinians are like some of the most educated people on earth. 29 births in ambulances delayed at checkpoints. So if you remember, there were 40 maternal and infant deaths, but 29 people gave birth while delayed at a checkpoint. which is still a fucked up statistic, but I mean, I'm glad those babies survived and those, parents survived. So here we're seeing some kids enjoying their lives, laughing, being in community with each other, playing. Here's a school. It needs a paint job, but kids are learning. A lot more of them can read than can read in the U.S. So they're doing something right. Looks like maybe a soccer team. Kids soccer team. Some Palestinian kids smiling. These are great portraits. And these kids would all be 10 years older. So they are all teenagers or young adults now. Boycott Israel. Playing soccer. I don't know what that says. Here's some kids playing in rubble. Playing in a refugee camp. Playing in the wet sand in the camp. And some henna. Just kids, man. There's so many kids. There's like 40% of Gaza is kids. Teenagers. And women in Palestine. This is cool. I think this guy is selling coffee. This is like an old traditional way of selling coffee from Palestine. I might be wrong. It might not be coffee. It might be something else. But yeah, I've seen this in historical books too. Just living their lives. I mean, most everywhere in the world, people are just people. People are just families, wanting the best for their families. There's some elders, maybe who were old enough to have lived through the Nakba, so the 1948 displacement and massacre of Palestinians. 750,000 people were displaced at that time. 15,000 were massacred. Unfortunately, the current Nakba is many times worse in terms of devastation. Here's a Jewish kid. Some Orthodox Jews. Maybe settlers, I don't know. Some kids looking over the hills. That's the end. Okay. So, I hope you enjoyed looking through this book. Let me know if you did in the comments, if you learned anything, if you're interested in picking up a copy. And please, if you did enjoy it and you'd like to, send me a little tip instead, again, I'd like you to go, please, to the description. Donate at least $5 to that family that I was telling you about, the Murtaja family. And if you do, you could win that signed copy of my book, the first edition, which you can't get the first edition in stores anymore. So, yes, I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me some comments to boost this if you did, so I know that I should keep doing these. And yeah, like I said, donate and enter the fundraiser. You're going to send a screenshot of your receipt to t4gaza@gmail.com to be entered to win this week's giveaway. And I've been doing these every single week, so if you're watching this in like 3 weeks, you can probably go to the first link in my bio, donate to whatever the top campaign is, and send the screenshot to the same email address. You'll be entered to win that week's giveaway too. Okay, thanks for watching. As my like catchphrase on TikTok and Instagram, I guess I'll use it here, is you're amazing, you're my mishpacha.